All right, what's up, my friends? Welcome to my Pro Tour match review. I'm going to be going over all four of my feature matches from the Pro Tour March of the Machine, which was a few weeks ago. Obviously, I've been sick, so I've not been able to. I should have done it sooner, obviously, but it is what it is. And we're going to go with matches in chronological order. And of course, I played Rakdos Breach, the tournament. There were two drafts as well. It was standard and draft. And if you missed my recap on the tournament, go watch it on YouTube, obviously. And then I also did a draft deck recap on my Bronze Smithy channel. Go watch that as well. And an article on CoolStuffInc.com going over the tournament as well. So as far as the tournament as a whole, got a lot of content on that. You can go check that out. This is going to be a video going over the specifics, turn by turn, of every feature match. So there we are. Me and Luis, of course, this is my... Those who don't know, this is actually my first feature match in a paper Pro Tour ever. It's not a joke. I hit the wrong button. Feature matches in Worlds, and in Arena Pro Tours, and SCGs, and in Grand Prix, but never in a paper Pro Tour before. And here you see here I'm playing against Luis, and I guess we'll pause the video. We're a little too fast. We're at 1.5 speed for most of it, but we can see here I'm playing against Luis Scott Vargas, who's on my team. We had a 16-person team for this event, all the old guys basically from CFB and friends. And Luis is we settled on 3 different decks. Me, Reed, Seth, Will, Jakob, and Raph all played Rakdos Breach, and then Luis, BK, Sam, Brent, and a few other players all settled on this Grixis Reanimator deck with 4 copies of Invasion of Amonkhet. So kind of a pseudo mirror here. We could see Harvester, I won the die roll. Both have 7 cards, I believe. I'm on the top, Luis is on the bottom, and we're just gonna go over the match. And Jerv, thanks for the reset, appreciate that. I'm queued for Barcelona, yes, and I'm gonna get a good shot for World. So. Keep the board clear, trade Harvesters, and play a Bank Buster. With the Buster, I have the card advantage, so I want to trade 1 for 1. The Rakdos mirrors are a lot of this in the early turns. Just sort of like, am I ahead? Am I behind? Am I the aggressor? Do I want to kill a Fable token? Can I play a blocker? So with the Bank Buster, trying to trade resources. And unfortunately, we don't have hand cams for this one because this was a backup feature match. So we'll have to make do as we can. But turn 4, play a 4th land here, and I have obviously activate Bank Buster and some mana up as well. And then I recall this game I was a little light on lands for a lot of the game, but I'm very heavy on action. So say go. There's a Goblin Shaman. What makes Fable so good is that you just can't allow this Goblin to attack. We see Luis discard 2 lands to the Fable here, which is very, very good for me because we're just playing Reanimator. So once that first big creature hits the graveyard, the entire texture of the game changes. So very, very fortunate for me to Luis discard some lands. We see cut down on the Goblin, a braid on the Bank Buster. Both good exchanges. So Luis is up a card because I had to waste a card on his Fable token, which is half the card. And then I'm up a card on the Bank Buster because Luis had to kill the Bank Buster with the Abrade, but I still drew a card off of it, which is pretty good too. So, now Luis has a Fable, and basically we're kind of just trading resources back and forth here. And I'm feeling a little better, yes. Thank you, appreciate that. So, I have the late game power of Breach the Multiverse and Chandra, the Invoke Despair. Luis has the late game power of Atraxa and stuff like that. Although it is cool that I can, in theory, kill Luis with like Invokes with Atraxa in play. So we see a Fable of my own, and instead cut down the Goblin. Again, more trading of resources. Until Luis gets that large creature in the graveyard, though, I feel relatively safe. You can't just play Cruelty and get it into play. So, at this point, pretty happy overall. Both players are still at 20. We see a Blood, and once again, I'm kind of like, uh-oh, no Atraxa, please. And Luis discards a Sheoldred's Edict to draw a card. They're looking for some action. So Luis's draw this game definitely wasn't super great. Thankfully for me, couldn't find a big creature. Gets on tap. And draw Fable goes to 2. Looting away lands is pretty important in these matchups. You don't want to flood. But you also want to make sure you're keeping pace with the threats and so on and so forth too. So Luis a bunch of mana up here, a couple cards in hand. Obviously Luis's hand is pretty weak. Discarded some lands, discarded an Edict, looking for some action. Edict's not super exciting in the matchup. Has some mana up here. Luis had no main deck counter spells, even though he's playing Grixis. Again, he's playing Grixis Reanimator, not Grixis, so no make disappears, things like that. Very important to note for me in game 1s. I draw a Buster. I got 2 mana up, which is not too bad. I believe here I pass with 2 mana up in our removal spell. So if Luis is able to play a creature he can copy with the Fable, I can kill the Fable in response. Otherwise, I can just draw a Bank Buster and keep the cards flowing, which is kind of cool. So, land 6, here's Cruelty of Gix. So, gonna go over chapter 1 here because there's no creatures in the graveyard. And, I believe I have no creatures in my hand. So it goes chapter 1. My hand is Invoke Despair, go for the throat, Bank Buster. So pretty gassy hand, honestly. Obviously I haven't played any lands. So end step, draw a Buster, untap. And now this is where Invoke lines up really well against Cruelty. I think one of the things that the Reanimator decks, one of their disadvantages, is that if you just play a Cruelty, try to get value off of it, you get invoked pretty hard. So here, I draw a land, Mize, I2 looks at it with the end step draw and thing. Invoke kills the Reflection and the Cruelty and draws me a card, which is pretty insane, obviously. And being able to kill Invoke at being able to kill Fable at parity is pretty huge, as well as killing the Cruelty again. So Cruelty there for Luis was 5 mana, look at your opponent's hand, and then deny me a draw, basically. So we see Corpse Praiser hits my creature. Obviously scary because like Luis is just looking for something big here. Although honestly, without much else going on, without the big creature in the graveyard, it isn't too scary. So then Luis casts the Brotherhood's End, kind of cheeky here for artifacts, killing my Bankbuster and my Blood. So no value. I've gotten, only about a card or two off my 3 Bankbusters so far, which is kind of annoying. 2 Bankbusters. But still in decent shape here, and I have a Reflection ready to go. I have a second Invoke to spare in my hand. I'm not necessarily in a huge rush to cast against this Corpse Praiser. I have another Bankbuster in my hand also, so kind of to keep the Bankbuster ball rolling. And I drew a Fable also, so this is pretty cool. Yeah, we have a table person helping out with the tokens and stuff. So reload with Fable and Bankbuster. Just keep the gas rolling here. And I got no reason to kill the Praiser. We see Nahiri's Warcrafting here on my Reflection, which was their big innovation for the deck, because it can kill the battle directly. So they're playing 4 Invasion of Amonkhet, and the Warcrafting can just kill that for value and get it flipped, which is kind of cool. It's a Bankbuster, which is fine. This is just playing into sort of the game plan I have going on anyway. I already have Bankbuster and Fable, so pretty happy with this. And I gotta say, pretty hard for the Goblin to attack into the 3/3 or the Buster, but otherwise looking pretty good with Fable and Buster available. They have a whole table of tokens. A whole table of them. So, we're on chapter 2 of Fable here. Again, my hand is pretty gassy. So, all in all looking pretty good. The fear, of course, here also is that, I think Luis had 2 Atali and 2 Atraxa as his big threats. So, seeing him, cast Atraxa has been pretty scary. We see here, I tap 6 for Chandra. Hope's Beacon, one of the best cards in my deck. Really, really powerful card. Can minus to kill things, copying spells, copying Invoke Spare, copying Multiverse. So, just going to make mana and cast Go for the Throat. Luis is going to crew response, so I can't attack with the Goblin, but that's fine. And now I have a Chandra on 7, and there isn't really a great way for Luis to kill this Chandra. The only way to kill Chandra in his deck was the 1 Shoulder's Edict that he discarded earlier. So, Chandra is ready for takeoff here, and I also have Invoke Spare in my hand too. So, about to do the goodie here, and we see a Corpse Praiser, but at this point, with double Invoke coming, I think the writing's on the wall. Luis just kind of couldn't put it together. And, double Invoked Spare is a little too good not to fire off, I think. So, Flip Fable. Once I can have another Flip Fable in play, I got a Goblin in play. And then, I think we're ready to rock and roll here. Shadow calls a plus to draw. Look for more Invokes or Multiverses as well. But, should cast the Invoke, double it up, and that'll be enough for Luis. So, definitely a game where Luis bricked a little bit. But, nothing to complain. Luis was kind enough to mulligan to 5 for me here in game number 2. Being a great teammate, really appreciate that. Aww. And, it's a game, though. This is definitely a real game. So we see Harvester on 2 for Luis. After sideboarding, Luis gains a few counter spells, which is pretty important to counter my larger spells. And I did a lot of Trespassers to deal with some graveyard stuff, but we see Bankbuster for me. And at the rest, my hand is pretty gassy. Fable, Chandra, Invoke, Go for the Throat, 2 lands. So pretty good. With Buster in play, I'm not too unhappy, though. I got lands, takes the Fable, which makes a lot of sense. And then play land. Harvester gets in for 3. So, yeah, Shotter's really, really good. Really, really well designed 6 mana Planeswalker, but it's busted good, but you can't play that many of it, so. Question, you said one way to kill Chandra is the Edict you discarded earlier. Is that something you were actively thinking about during the match? Yeah, these events were open deck list, which definitely changes the texture of things a lot. Because you're no longer operating under incomplete information. So, like, for example, in that game 1, I know for a fact Luis has 0 counterspells in his deck, and I know that he only has 1 way to kill a Planeswalker. And that's information that you know. So it does change the texture of things pretty significantly, because you know what you can go for, what you can tap out for, and so on and so forth. And, yeah, so it is quite relevant. That's a spot where Luis discarded that Sheldon's Edict, and he knows I have 2 Chandras, and he knows it's the only answer, but at the time he thought it was worth it. And that is what it is, Typically, Luis is able to go over my Chandra with, his Atraxas and stuff, too. So, I agree. I don't like open deck lists that much, but it is what it is. So, here's a Fable. So, honestly, a great draw from Luis. Even though Luis has only had 5 cards here. Had the Duress. Take my Fable. Has his own Fable. Has a Harvester here. enough mana to do things. So, all right. So I cast my own Duress, and I believe I whiffed. I believe he had a land in his hand. It went really, really fast there, honestly. Let's see if we can't catch that again. There's Duress, and he flips a bit. You can't quite see it, unfortunately. So Luis not cooperating with the camera there. I believe it was a land, though. So, however, he has the tapper 2 of Fable coming. So, good spells coming, you know. And then one of the things about these Reanimer matchups is you can't really afford to let the Goblin attack like 2 times because then they have mana just to hardcast Atraxa, which is very, very scary. So, we see go to tapper 2 here. And looks like Luis is going to keep the land as he drew Cruelty of Gix. So, pretty good draw for Luis, obviously. I duressed him. He had a land in his hand. He drew Cruelty, probably the best possible card to draw. We see a Cruelty here. Takes my Chandra, leaving me with land. Was that Invoke Despair? Sorry. Hold on, sorry. Here's the Cruelty. And leaving me with a... Yeah, so I land, Invoke Despair. So I have Invoke Despair. Unfortunately, the Fable of the Mirror Breaker is playing defense for this Cruelty of Gix, where if I cast Invoke, Luis can maintain his Cruelty, which is pretty important. So, still get to kill the Harvester and the Fable, but then Cruelty can go Chapter 2, tutors up another Cruelty, and kind of go like that. So, very, very good hand for Luis, even though he's on 5 cards here. So land Invoke. This will kill Fable and Harvester. Gets rid of the board, except for the Cruelty. Puts Luis kind of all in. I draw a card as well. And Luis is going to go to Chapter 2, pay 3 life, get to Demonic Tutor for a card. Obviously, has the card drawn as well. I believe Luis just gets another Cruelty here. Again, I don't like open deck lists. That's the topic for another time. Obviously, Shaq can discuss it. I'm not going to discuss it in a thing. Scouting is obviously somewhat of an issue, but I think it really diminishes the ability to be creative. But, all right, so we see another Cruelty. Luis drew a land for the turn. My hand is land. Not so good, but draw Buster. So now I've got land, and Luis has got double Cruelty. So even though Luis mulligan at 5, his draw has definitely panned out much better than mine. I play my land. And now we run the fear of Cruelty can go get a Harvester, and then the Cruelty number 2 can get an Atraxa. Harvester discards the Atraxa and then gets it back the next turn. So we see this Cruelty here going to get back the Harvester. Cruelty only gets from your graveyard, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Only gets creatures as I get Planeswalkers. So going to get back the Harvester, get the Blood. The Blood's the important part here because now Luis can tutor up a Atraxa and then discard the Atraxa to the Blood. So I'm on a 1-turn shot here, honestly, to try and find an answer to this Cruelty of Gix or the graveyard. So we see Luis gets the Atraxa face down. I assume it's Traxa. And now I'm digging for another Invoke would kill the Cruelty of Gix itself. Which would be great, obviously. We see here, and Luis will... okay, so you can't see it. It's off camera, unfortunately, but Luis discarded the Atraxa. It's the card at the bottom of his graveyard, right above his name on the thing. So Luis makes an interesting choice here. By discarding the Atraxa, he exposes it to Graveyard Trespasser, or my 1 copy of Cruelty Gix that I board in. Whereas if you waited on it and held it in hand, wouldn't have done that. So wanted to try and find some more gas, obviously, to play something, but missed, unfortunately. So you see me go up, and now I now with the Atraxa in the graveyard, obviously it's the looming. I have an Atraxa coming into play next turn off the Cruelty, but now I'm drawing to Invoke Despair to kill the actual Cruelty, Trespasser to exile the Atraxa, or my copy of Cruelty of Gix to exile the thing. So a lot of looks, and then also I've got the Buster and the Fable Chapter 2 here. So I just really dig for it. Discard 2 lands. I draw 2. And what do I draw? Sorry, Luis. Obviously, it could be a counterspell here, but I have no choice because the Atraxa is looming. So I draw my own copy of Cruelty of Gix. I get Luis's Atraxa. That's basically the game, obviously. The only way that this could have helped out Luis would have been if he had drawn like a kill spell, or he draws a kill spell and can kill the Atraxa before Chapter 3 of his own Cruelty goes off. But pretty good draw, obviously. Drawing my Cruelty. I was drawing to Invoke or Trespasser anyway, which both would have been super fine. But the My Own Cruelty was definitely the fun one for sure. So get back the Atraxa. I play a land, draw a million cards, and now the game is, for all intents and purposes, over. Also, you can draw exactly a kill spell for it on the next turn. So now I've got 5 new cards in my hand. I'm mulling over my options here. And I think deciding if I want to attack with Bankbuster or not. I want to attack with the Goblin or not. Gonna Group Buster to attack here. Just firing. So Luis is also at 12 too. So gonna put some pressure on as well. You know, both those cruelties dealt 3 damage to him. Alright, so gonna play a Trespasser also. Gonna exile something, and yeah, I mean, now we're just in pretty good shape. So Luis is at 7. Cruelty goes off with nothing to get. And I believe that's all she wrote. Oh, draws Talia, actually. Talia rolls Fable, and I reveal Invoke Despair. Which is pretty good, actually. So his Talia hits Invoke Despair and Fable, but still dead to the Atraxa. Just 7 damage in the air, so also I want to sacrifice the thing. I crew Buster, so I sack Buster and the Fable. Just keep those stuff in play, and then that's the game, obviously. So pretty fortunate match for me. Definitely, Luis definitely. I think that discarding the Atraxa to look for gas in the main phase might have been a mistake, honestly. I think that really opened up my outs. But we'll take it. So there you go. So that was round 5, and we got four feature matches left. So first feature match against LSV, round 5. Now we're at round 7. Now we're on the main stage against Shota Yasooka. Also one of the best Magic players ever play the game. So, from daunting to daunting, here we are, round 7. I beat Joe a set in round 6. Joe's playing mono blue, and this is round 7. Shota's playing Esper Legends. I won the die roll, and let's get right into the game. So we see Swamp for me, kind of telegraphing that I cut down. A Translator, unnecessary. Magic the Gathering doesn't require you to both speak the same language. So no pressure. Yeah, I know, right? So we see an old Bank Buster, and we see a Rona from Shota. We'll see the hands now because now we're on the main stage. We get face cams and the hand cams, which is great. So Buster for me, Rona for Shota. I draw cut down and say go, which is pretty cool. Great draw for me, obviously, being able to cut down and still draw off my thing. Here's the Raffine. I draw off the Buster. Now this is an interesting spot. So show the hands, please. We all know what Raffine does. Show the hands, please. We all know what Raffine does. Alright, so we can see here. Wait, I don't have 2 more cut downs, do I? I must use a cut down already. That's too many cards, I think. But, so. Why are we pausing? So, we see here. My hand, I have a cut down. And now, the only chance that you have to kill a Raffine with cut down is obviously the turn they play it. Because Raffine is obviously a 1/4. It's they're going to attack. It's going to grow. However, this is where open decklists come into play. So it looks a little weird here. I'm just kind of jamming shoulder like an idiot. Like, oh, you're my shoulder, screw you, you know. But because I know that Shota's list, the only interactive cards were 2 go for the throat. Most of us play 3. He also had 2 make disappear, and then he had 2 cut downs. So his spells, it was 2 cut down, 2 go for the throat, 2 make disappear. So shoulder is very likely to live. And with the shoulder in play, Raffine doesn't do much. And I get to slam for 4 on my Buster here too. So this was an open decklist play, where I think with only two go for the throats available, I kind of wanted to just jam here. I got some big stuff in my hand also. I don't think I have 2 cut downs here. I don't think I drew all 3 cut downs, honestly. I think they just hasn't updated yet. I'm not exactly sure. But I decided to go just jam and go for it. So here's Shouldered. Unfortunately, of course, Shota being the master that he is, he just has one of his 2 go for the throats, because why wouldn't he? Right? So kills that, and now Raffine gets to get in, and now the Raffine train starts to roll. So in retrospect, was it a mistake? I mean, hindsight, yeah, he had one of the 2 go for the throats, I guess. You know, but I think my play in the moment was fine, because without the answer to the Shieldred, Raffine just doesn't do much except for kill Shota, who's already at 16. So we can see here, yeah, so the cut down was a little delayed. So right now my hand is big score, 2 lands and cut down. I have the Buster in play. We see a Thalia from Shota also, and a great hand of Shieldred and the Dawn Sky in hand as well. So I draw a land. And going to fire up a cut down on the Thalia and play a Fable. So now, unfortunately, this Raffine is starting to grow. We're kind of doing, we're handling everything else pretty well, but we don't really have an answer to Raffine. And they're shielded. So problems abound for me, of course. Here comes Raffine, gain some life, discard a Razor Lash, which is obviously a good card to discard usually, but I have 4 basics in play, so gets untap, draw, and now Shoulder is coming for me. So now I'm at 13 to 16. I got my Fable to discard to here. I have 2 lands, Big Score in my hand. Big Score very awkward. Don't think it is super relevant here. It's just hard to cast, honestly. So discard Big Score and a land. Find my own copy of Shouldered. Why do you bad boy face while playing? That's my face, sir. Just thinking. Just not how I'm playing. You know? So play land, draw Shouldered. Shouldered obviously can counter Shadow Shouldered, and then I've got my Buster going. I got my Fable getting ready to flip also. So you know, it's a decent spot. I've taken the hits for sure. I'm already at 9. So I didn't bother asking about music. They told me last Pro Tour I couldn't. So. And then I'm going to draw off the Buster. I do it now because I want to make sure that my Shoulder lives, so our triggers negate each other. So, no life change, untap, and we're laughing about our shared triggers, obviously, on the Shieldreds. So, comes in with the Shouldered and the Raffine. Raffine's a trigger on itself. So, an opportunity to trade Shoulders here, but unfortunately this Raffine's getting really, really big. So, haven't tried to go for the throat yet. I have 3 of those. I also have Invoke Despair as well. But, you know, again, I could see how people would be like, well, why don't you just cut down on turn 3, you know? I think at the time my reasoning was reasonable. But, so here come the hits. Triggers in a stack. I'm deciding if I want to, nothing, I guess, because I'm not doing anything. So, tight spot, 16 to 9. You know, Shota is definitely the aggro deck in this matchup. Obviously, I have the bigger spells. So, I'm going to discard... Thinking about it here. Discarding a Denick and a Rona. So, 2 more counters on Raffine. Raffine's now absolutely monstrous. Say 5-8. So, I've got a trade here. Let's trade Shieldreds. Take 5. Go down to 4. So, now I'm dead on board to this thing. And there's an Aho. So, pretty devastating spot, honestly. We see here, we see now 2 lethal flying threats. One that has ward, one that has death trigger, and me at 4. So not ideal. Untap, and I draw a... Let me draw, go for the throat. So, this is not an enjoyable spot to be in, where you are having to kill a Aho because you are dead on board otherwise. So, what did I draw here? I drew... I'm sorry, I invoked Despair. So, I get to invoke Despair here. And, of course, playing this into the Aho, not the most exciting thing ever. But my only chance here is to hope that the Aho whiffs. And I've seen Ahos whiff before at Worlds. My teammate Ely lost Worlds on an Aho miss. Would have won Worlds otherwise. And we see here, it's a whiff. We got 2 copies of the Raven Man and a copy of Raffine. So, not too shabby. A Raven Man and nothing else. So that was you know, this is the start, and I think one of the important things is that when you're behind in a game, you know, you're starting to ask yourself like, okay, I'm behind here. Oh shit, I'm recording this. Fuck, I can edit it now. God damn it, stupid fucking god damn it. I hit the button again. All right, whatever. I'll have to go back and edit it. That sucks. So yeah. Okay. Anyway, so one of the important things you got to do when you are behind in a game is you got to ask yourself, okay, what needs to happen in this game for me to win? And sometimes that'll be your opponent getting unlucky. Sometimes that'll be, well, I got to kill this Aho and hope that it misses, basically. So, hit my spot there. And as we see, a Raven Man, not a complete miss. I am at 4, so Raven Man is still a, you know, semi-lethal threat. Play land. And now I get to fire my Goblin, make a treasure. And in for 2. And my hand is go for the throat. Right, and I found the go for the throat off the Invoke Spare. So what has to happen? It looked really, really bad 2 turns ago, right? But what has to happen for me to win this game. I need to kill the Aho, hope it misses, and draw a go for the throat off of the Invoked Despair. And there it is! So, find it. The extra mana off the Shaman gives me the ability to pay for Ward. And now it is my Reflection, my Buster, and my Goblin versus Shota's Raven Man. That's basically it. So, we see here I have 2 lands in my hand, so still a lot of work to do. Shota's got a Skrelv, a Make Disappear, and a Plaza. Those 2 main deck Make Disappears are pretty scary for me because I'm obviously playing these big 7 mana spells in my deck. So we see Flashback on Dennick here, which is obviously very, very powerful. 3-2 flyer, very relevant on this board. And then now the Raven Man attacks, I just have to block, so I can't go to less than 4. So. No, his main deck spells were 2 Make Disappear, 2 Cut Down, 2 Go for the Throat. Most Esper Legends lists, like stock, play 3 or 4 Go for the Throat and 0 other spells, typically. So we see Dennick, we see a trade on the Raven Man, a clue for Shota, so Shota's still in very good shape here. I still have 2 lands in my hand, but I got a Buster, I got a Goblin, so draw up the Buster. Now I get my Duder and my Treasure. And just gotta find some action here. I draw a Trespasser, which is pretty good, so a little bit of life gain. Kind of keep things going. So here comes the Goblin. Keep making Treasure. You know, it ain't blocking anyway, and the Treasure will help me play around Make Spear, which is kind of cool. So now you can see here I got extra mana for that. Play a land. Trespasser. Just gonna eat a card. I believe now that I have 3 non-basics in place. Eat a Razor Lash, gain some life. I have 3 non-basics, yeah. So now I'm up to 5. So life gain helps out a little bit, but still not ahead in the race here. Where Shota attacks for 3, now I can gain 1, and Shota attacks for 3 again, so I'm dead. So still work to do, but I have got some cards in hand, and just trying to battle through it. Crazy game, honestly, super crazy game. Shota draws a Cut Down, so now it's access to Cut Down, a Skrelv. And you Make Spear. And at this point, I have mostly blanked the Make Spear, which is good. So if I draw a big spell, we're good to go. This is a crazy game. Yeah, super crazy game. Where I kind of bricked really hard early, and then I found the runner cards to get back in the game. Kind of runner because obviously the dragon had to miss also. So here's your Scarrel, which is very whatever Deflector Might. Pretty scary, honestly, because it's another layer of protection for everything going on. I'm at 2. Get to untap and draw. Need a big one here. Need a big one. And Chandra Hope's Beacon. The beacons are lit. It's important to note, however, that Shota has the Plaza of Heroes up here. So here's the Cut Down on the Goblin. Attack with these. Gain a life. However, because I make the aggressive play, Shota has to use the Ganjo to kill the Bankbuster and not go down to 2 life. So the aggression that I showed earlier in the game ended up paying off because he couldn't leave up the cards. And there's Chandra, and Chandra just goes facing and wins the game. So pretty insane game, honestly. Pretty wild comeback from a pretty crazy game. We see for game 2 now. Looks like Shota's on 6 cards here. I'm on 7. Obviously, very kind-handed mulligan for me, obviously. It's nice. Yeah, crazy game. Really exciting game. So tap land for me. The Might for Shota. Obviously, the beginning of the good draw for Esper Legends. We see an attack for 1. And we see a Razor Lash and a passive a turn. So getting aggressive here. I think Shota realized his hand was pretty bad. So he wanted to get aggressive as soon as possible. So here's a Harvester, so go. And I got 1 poison counter. Very important. Shota, unfortunately, on the double Seacomb Croast draw. And Shota's going to fire up the ability of Scarov on the 3-1 to force damage through. So I take 3, I can't block. And then play a Dennick. So getting very aggressive here. Recognizing that the hand's not very good. Looking to probably get super aggressive. Just play with Dawn Sky and hopefully get the 1 counter spell to win the game. I don't know if Shota's team or not. I mean, The Japanese players, I think, are all pretty tight knit, but I obviously don't know, honestly. All right, so deciding if I want to use my harvester or not. I'm at 16, facing down 6 power already. Gonna kill the mite. I'm gonna play. Also got another more harvesters. Get another blood. Say go. It's a pretty good draw for me, honestly. Double harvester. I have a shoulder on tap. I have a trespasser. Trespasser can't do anything yet, obviously, because the Denik's in play. And now the fear is I kind of want to block and kill the Denik. But if I do that, Shota can just go land, flash it back, which is terrible for me. So I'm just gonna block the Razor Lash. I also have a mountain in my hand too, so I have 2 basics. So unlikely that the Razor Lash will come back against me. One of the benefits of playing Rakdos over Grixis is that the Razor Lashes aren't very good. What's up, Todd? It's Pedro here. What's up, Pedro? How's it going, bud? Pedro's my next opponent. Pedro's awesome. If you see our game, pay attention to game 3, the Skirl play with the Adeline token. Okay, sure. Sounds great. All right, so what did I just do? I missed it. Okay, I'm sorry. So I blocked on the Razor Lash. We see a second copy of Ganjo to kill it. So, but now I just jam shoulder and say go. And not only does Shota only have a few answers to shoulder in deck anyway, no black mana for go for the throat regardless. So now shoulder's online. This is looking pretty good, obviously. So play land 5. My hand's Chandra, Harvester, go for the throat trespasser. Yeah, so it's all looking pretty good here. Shota's definitely draw did not cooperate very well in this game. Kind of just mulligan a 6. Didn't have any black mana. Hand was just okay. And my hand just, good 7-card hand, firing on all cylinders. Alright, so just going to fire up the 2 mana for, going to go for the Denik, fire up the Harvester, going to eat it. See him make Spear, which honestly was a card that seemed fairly likely that he could have based on how the game played out, but whatever. Not the worst trade there, obviously. Much rather trade make Spear for a 3-drop and a 7-drop or a 6-drop or something like that. So shoulder just doing his thing, just going solo here, which happens fairly often. We see Shadow's hand is shoulder plus dragon, has multiple counters after board also, besides make a Spear. Need to be aware of those. Don't want to just jam Chandra here necessarily. So I think I just attack and play Harvester here, just play it safe. Don't want to let your mastered opponent, cast a spell that they couldn't normally cast. So just play Harvester and say go here. Doing totally fine with Shieldred, so not really in a huge rush. Eventually, at some point, Shadow will have to tap out here, and here. So this is really funny. So you can see me looking up here. So the judge decided he wanted to interrupt my passing of the turn to ask about the 3 poison counters. So I got an extra poison counter because the Skirl gives the ability to have a creature that attacks. So I'm reminding the judge here that the ability from that, and he literally does it in my draw step. So Shadow draws his card as this is happening, and I'm like, take 2, judge. What are you doing to me here? You trying to make me miss my trigger here? So it's pretty funny. So all right, so still in great shape, obviously though. Got we see flashback on Denik, which is like fine. Black mana drawn finally for Shota. Attack for 3. And okay, just take. Oh, so Yasooka's on. So this is interesting, actually. I chose Yasooka's on here. I have a Chandra in my hand. I could have just held the land and played Chandra, but I think I wanted to just make the trade. And if I draw a land or a spell, I'm happy. Obviously, I draw a freaking tap land, which is the literal only worst case scenario that can happen there, where I didn't draw a spell or land. But still very ahead. So whatever, Definitely knew shoulder was dead first. What? So I still have to bluff his land away here because I'm just looking for action. And again, I can draw a land or a spell. Same idea. So select the land, draw. I believe I draw another land. All right, so I draw a. Can't see this. Like a Breach the Multiverse. I think I just go for the. Sure. Attack with all 3. Shadow's at 8, only has 1 blocker anyway, so sure. So trade, take a bunch. Yeah, and the game's pretty much over. I guess. Kind of honestly, like a sloppy last turn on my part. But whatever, we'll take it. So, all right. So now 2-0 feature matches. Now 7-0 in the tournament, and next match coming up is going to be the last match of day one. Kind of the precipice, you know. If I don't channel Yasooka's on, it's just lethal. Yeah, I think I just played sloppy the last turn. Just, you understand that, like, when you're in I think people don't get that, like, when you're in a big match, people wonder why players play really slow, like the turn they're about to win. It's because you sort of recognize you're about to win, and you're sort of like, you don't want to screw it up, you know. So, like, I feel like the last part of the last turn before you win often can be a little sloppy because you're kind of like a little nervous about winning or whatever, not really sure what you're gonna do, but that's the thing. So, cool. So let's get over to our next match. All right. So here we are. This is the final round of the day. This is round 8, and Pedro and I are the last 2 remaining 7-0 players. The winner of this will be undefeated for the day. Pedro's also playing Esper Legends, a different list than Shota though. Whereas Shota was playing. So Shota had 2 Make to Spear main deck, 2 main deck cutdowns. Pedro had Adelines and the more traditional, like 3 go for the throat, no other spells, I believe. So we see here, and looks like, let's see my hand, let's see Pedro's hand, let's see turn one might, both on, I'm on 7, Pedro's on 6. Here comes the might, and I believe here comes the cut down. Nothing too crazy here. And here's Harvester and rock and roll. Did I moisturize my hands for future matches? No. I did not. So, third land, Harvester for me. Looks like my hand is Chandra, another Harvester. I'm sorry. Nope, just Invoke Despair and Swamp. So, Raffine for Pedro here. And a little annoying, so I don't really want to kill it just yet. What's up, Pedro? We got Pedro in chat, too. Wait. Is that... Yes, that is Pedro, right? What's up, Pedro? So, obviously, a Raffine with no answer is pretty not cool. I don't like this play here. So, I end up regretting this a lot. I decide I want a Blood and just look for action. My hand's Big Score, Invoke Despair, Chandra, and some lands. And I decide that I really want to just try and find some more action here. Discard a land. The problem with this is I turn my Harvester off for future turns. Which I think really cost me this game. My hand was pretty bad. And obviously I draw Duress, of course. Which is almost blank against Pedro. Who has just 3 go over the road to nothing else. So, not ideal. We have Big Score. I have Chandra. I have Invoke Despair. But now my Harvester's not looking too good. So, here comes Raffine. Here comes the tokens. We see Pedro's gonna stack it right here. We're gonna make a token first, and then resolve the Raffine trigger for 2 cards. And now I'm in a pretty big amount of trouble here because I don't really have a way to interact with this board. I have a Big Score next turn, but we're on the draw against a lot of pressure. It's pretty hard to cast Big Score in most spots. So he discards a land, a spell. I block token, obviously, but still take from the damage from the Raffine. And we see another might here. So this is where I'm really regretting stacking that Blood because now my Harvester can't kill this might. And I really need to affect this board, which is pretty terrible. So, draw Fable. I have Duress, Big Score. I have, Chandra, Invoke Despair. I got some stuff going on. But they're all kind of clunky. And we're under a lot of pressure on the board here. And again, finding time to cast this Big Score is tough. So, I cast Fable. The plan being to discard the Big Score and the Duress. And also add to the board too, which is pretty cool. And now I can double block the Adeline as well. Not sure what the judges use there. They're just trying to get me. They're always trying to get me, So, we see Raffine and Shieldred. So, here we see Pedro's going to slam Shieldred, which is pretty nasty. And now Pedro has the ability to also just might onto the Adeline and choose red. So, I can't block it as well. So, a lot of damage coming across here, which is pretty terrifying. Decides to just attack, though. Hold on. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that might happen, right? So we're gonna see the. I guess he's gonna do this first. So we see the token come into play. The Raffine goes off, and draw 3 cards. I missed the target on the Raffine. Hand is Raffine, go for the throw plane. So pretty good hand. And this is definitely the the effective Raffine where it just starts to snowball really, really hard, where now, a lot of power is being added to the board, and then Pedro's hand's perfect for the rest of the game, obviously. So we see counters go on Raffine, so now the blocks aren't good anyway, so now the might can stay back, which is pretty good for Pedro. So now Pedro's got the might on defense, which I can't kill because of the Harvester Blood being gone. Shouldered in play, a bunch of damage coming across. It's just a very, very ugly game for me, unfortunately. Not sure if the blood stack would have mattered or not, but... So I decided, obviously, one of these is going to block the human. Harvester chumps. I take 2 off the Raffine. And we do have the ability to, to fire in and cast Chandra. I think I get to actually, let's see, Chandra starts on 5 loyalty, I think. So we actually can't kill the Adeline. Discard the Duress and Big Score as planned. And we draw... We draw Tannin, the Suspense. We draw Swamp. And Go for the Throat. So Go for the Throat's kind of nice, but again, now I have the problem of like this might is in play and I can't stop it. So yeah, just the big thing about Esper Legends is that they kind of like rack things up, where they keep racking things on top of each other, and you need to deal with one, but you can't deal with that because this one, and then they still have this one, they still have this one, and it gets worse and worse and worse. Really snowballs pretty hard. So here's an Evoke Despair, but the game's like basically over at this point already anyway. So, I don't think it necessarily would have mattered. So we see a Might on Shieldred. Just has Life to spare. I don't think this makes much sense. I've already played a land, I think. So the only card I could have is Cut Down off of the Harvesters. So I don't think that was necessary, honestly, but like, got Life to spare, super far ahead. The game's almost over anyway, so yeah, the game's over regardless. So yeah, not a great game, obviously. Definitely a good hand from Pedro, and then my hands were a little awkward, Driven Duress, etc., but can't complain too much. So we see game number 2 here. It looks like Pedro's on 6, and I'm on 7. We've got Harvester, Go for Throw, Bankbuster, which is great. Tap land for Pedro. Pedro's got a Surge Salvation, Go for the Throat, Urtai, Denick, and 2 lands. Fire up a Harvester and say go. Alright, so get blood. Here's Denick. Pretty good. Can't kill it with the Harvester. Very important also with my Go for the Throats. Kind of like, I think it's important in Standard in general. You really want to kind of hold on to your Go for the Throats as long as possible. They really got to hit the prime creatures. Shieldred, a larger Fiend. So it's a tough one though here because I do kind of want to kill this Denick. And my hand is, I believe, a little thin. I think it's a little land heavy, I believe. Let's see what my hand is exactly. I just say go here. Interesting, I don't cast Bankbuster. I'm leaving up the mana for Go for the Throat on Raffine. That was kind of my thought process here, I believe. Here comes the Denick. And now this is land 3. I don't have a Trespasser yet, so I can't block and then Trespasser it. But this would have been a window to do that possibly, but decided not to block. Just take the damage, no big deal. And then we get into like an interesting draw-go game here, right? So we see a Might. And then Pedro's got Urtai, Odawara, Go for Throat, Surge Salvation. So 4 instant speed cards. And I've got some bigger stuff also. So we're kind of just going to chill this game a little bit, which is kind of cool. So there's Surge Salvation. So Surge gives you and all your things hexproof and prevents all damage from red sources. So this will just counters Evoke Despair, counters removal spells, and it also can win combat against red and black creatures. So I decided to attack. Also aware, obviously, again, open deck list. I'm very aware of the fact that Pedro has Surge in his deck. So decided to just attack here. I'm not going to be trying to kill the Might into the Surge. We're going to just chill for now. And it's not blocking anyway, so I might as well just attack with it. So play Buster, so they go. And then I'm going to play another Harvester. So now I've got Buster on defense too, which is great. So looking pretty good. That second Blood's also pretty important because now a Harvester can kill a Raffine or something like that. So fire up and Go for the Throat end step, which is fine. Not ideal, but fine. Again, the threats in play aren't that threatening as far as power and toughness goes. So land number 4. And the hand is Urtai, Odawara, Surge. It's the attack for 3 here, which is fine. It's like, feels more like Magic in like 2011, all right, attack you for 3, not the modern day, just like Raffine, attack for 40, or Shoulder, attack for 40. So My hands go for the throat, swamp, swamp, Atali. So now we're in this song and dance of like Pedro's hand feels very, very reactive. Pedro's got, said go now with mana up on multiple turns. Hasn't played a Raffine given the opportunity. Hasn't played Shieldred. Hasn't played a 3-drop. So it feels like Pedro's hand's very reactive. I believe there was like maybe a sideboard negate or stroke, and then there were 3 Surge in the sideboard, as well as I believe 2 Urtai between main and board, and then the Odawars as well. So while I don't know, this is the kind of spot where like I don't know exactly what Pedro has, but it's clearly interaction, and I'm in no rush because Pedro's clock isn't very good. So I have Buster in play to keep busting and making some land drops, kind of going for there, and I'm just gonna chill, leave some mana up, leave the blocker up. The one downside of bank bustering now is that I can't have it on defense, but I have my go for the throat and my cut down up, and gonna go and try and kill the Might. And Pedro's cool with it. So interesting here. Pedro decides he wants to save his Surge for a possible Invoke, or wants to leave up Urtai here. So works for me. I have my cut down ready if the Surge was there, but this is fine with me. And again, this is a game I'm not very unhappy about. Realistically, I'm the better long game deck. So these sort of like, attack for two, kind of, sit back on my spells games, I think favor me. Because I can kind of chill. These instant speed plays from Pedro are a lot better if Pedro's applying more pressure, obviously. If I can kind of chill on it, it's pretty cool. So here's a Thalia, which taxes things a little bit. I'm going to end step cut down on it. And Pedro can use a Surge to protect it if he wants to. But that would open him up to a pretty nasty Invoke to spare. So the question is, do you want to wait? Do you want to do it or not? And it looks like he does. He Surged, which is fine. It was totally on the radar, obviously. My hand is still pretty good. And now I have the ability to play multiple things. I can't Chandra kill both, unfortunately, because obviously it'd be Thalia attacks. Love to see my hand again. So I have Fable, Swamp, Go for the Throat, Atali. And I think I just kill Thalia here and play Fable, honestly. Just kind of get things going. Nope, play Fable, sure. Play Fable, say go. Have Bankbuster up, which is great. I'm at 13. Not too scared, honestly. Keep those cards flowing. Not under that much pressure. Let me see. Shieldred off the top for Pedro, which is a pretty good draw, but taps Pedro out. So I'm going to hold up the Urtai instead. I'm going to draw. I think it's now we're at a stage of the game where it's very, very hard for Pedro to tap out anymore because I have so many 6 and 7 mana spells that just almost end the game on the spot. So as you can see, I drew a Multiverse in my hand. But the thing is that because I'm aware of the counter spells, I can also just chill too. So kind of a rock and a hard place for Pedro here, honestly. So 6 mana in play. No 7th land, but I have mana up the Shaman. I have a Braid, a Go for the Throat, a Breach, and an Atali. So I have multiple things here. And now that Goblin token, this is what makes Fables just so unbelievably good, is that like the Goblin token must be answered. Because now it's, all right, now I have 7 mana. I can just say go. And now with a Braid and Go for the Throat up, I can kind of just chill. Chill, draw another card. I have the token coming from Bankbuster, so it's a creature next turn. So end step we see here comes an Urtai. And I think Pedro recognizing here he just can't wait. He just can't wait any longer. Like he's just got to get things going here. I have a treasure coming from the Bankbuster as well as the Fable token, and like I think that Pedro just wants to end this game right now. This is too much. So, but this opens the window for me to cast my spells, obviously, and play around Surge and everything else. So we see some mana here. I'm gonna fire up I believe Go for the Throat and a Braid. So I'm gonna kill the Thalia, and then I believe also Pedro chose no targets on the Atali, which wants a 3/2. And then while tapped out still, playing around the Surge, I'm going to kill that too. So untaps. Yeah, now gets to play Shieldred, unfortunately. But now if Pedro casts Shieldred, I cast 7-drop, which is the idea. So down to 7. So here comes Shelly. And then I believe I can respond here by Bankbustering, just drawing a card, replacing my my treasure, and then setting up next turn to cast either Breach or Tali. And then Breach likely to find my own Shieldred. There's also the Atali, the Urtai in the graveyard, which I can get back to kill the Shieldred also. So pretty good spot. Even though the Shieldred comes down, now it's too late. Now we've passed the point where Shieldred's gonna matter that much because now I can start casting my 7 mana spells. So flip this bad boy, get a lot of crap in play, and decide if I want to cast the Tali or Breach here. It's got to be Breach. Pretty sure. Thinking about it, it's a feature match, on camera. But cast the Breach the Multiverse, so now each player mills 10 cards. Then I put one creature, Planeswalker, from each graveyard onto the battlefield. So again, worst case scenario here, if we both mill nothing, I get Urtai to kill the Shieldred and my own Harvester to assemble the Harvester plus Reflection combo. So each player milling 10. We see kind of what fun me, just Trespassers, not much else. We see another Urtai. We see a negate, Shieldred, go for the throat. And this is an interesting spot where I'm deciding if I want to get a Shieldred or just kill the Shieldred. But my idea was to have a free Shieldred on the board and hope to win with her, but the Urtai from the top destroyed me. Well, there's already an Urtai in the graveyard, so I can just get that one too. Multiverse does not distinguish between the cards you exile, I believe. It's just any card in the graveyard, I believe, right? Check that real fast. Then, yeah, just any card in the graveyard. So, all right, so someone's gonna play, kill the Shieldred, and then get back the Trespasser to gain some life, which is pretty cool too. And now my board's just absolutely dominating, obviously. So I have this Trespasser to gain some life. I have lots of stuff in play. Even though I don't have one big thing in play, I have Active Fable, little life gain, lots of blockers. And I also have Atalia in my hand, also, which is great. Now, it is cute here. Pedro has the ability to, with an Otawara in the hand, to Otawara back the Urtai and kind of get it back to hand and use it. But I just, the reality is that Esper Legends, doesn't really have the late game potential to really keep up with spells that cost 7 mana. So, plays Thalia, says go. Has mana up. I need to be aware of the possibility of a counter spell here. But the thing is that I think Pedro only had 2 negates and no strokes, I think. So I knew the Italia was safe here. I don't remember exactly, honestly, but you can't see my hand because the card is up. It's kind of annoying, actually. I wish the hand was always up. Go for the throat. I drew my own Shoulder, which is also super safe too. So I don't remember exactly, but playing Shoulder is very, very safe, obviously. So now I have a Shoulder in play. And again, now we're seeing the opposite of the last game, where I'm starting to rack them all up. So now I have this Active Fable, and this Shieldred, and this Trespasser, and this, and just too many things for Pedro needed to answer. So you can see even though life totals are 19-5, the game is heavily swinging in my favor. I gain life off the Trespasser. We see double block here. Then we're also going to see the Otawara on the Urtai, which can kill my Shieldred. But there's just too many things to overcome, I think. So I kill on double blocks. I decide I want to kill the Thalia, I think, not the Denic, and not give the flashback. Let me see some mana here. I'm going to see the Otawara bouncing the Urtai, which is super cute. It's just, a way to this basically removes a card from my board. And so usually Otawara's card disadvantage, just bounce your thing. But this is the opposite, where this is a removal spell and a card draw spell. It's actually 2 mana, kill your thing, draw a card, which is pretty sick. So, but still, my board's still pretty insurmountable. I think if Pedro drew exactly a kill spell for the Fable, is if it was a cut down or anything. So if it was Urtai the Shieldred, cut down the Reflection maybe, but I still have a Tally in hand also. So play land, and I think we're all set here for the most part. So end step, get a little tricky here. Pedro says go with Urtai and Denic in hand. End step, I get to crew my Bankbuster and then copy it. Kind of cute trick you can do. So I get the Bankbuster, I get to draw a card off of it, and then I get to untap and draw more cards off of it on my turn, which is kind of cool, because obviously the end step thing persists. While tapped out, here comes Urtai in response to the card draw. That kills Shieldred. Here I'm asking if, because the destroy and the card draw are all one effect, will Pedro lose life because of it? And the answer is no, but the reason I thought that is I played the Jeskai control deck previously, and if you kick a Fires of Victory to kill Shieldred, it actually triggers because the Shieldred dies to state-based effects at the end of the resolution of a spell. So on the card, it destroys it, it goes to the bin, then the draw happens, so nothing happens. But with damage, the card still stays in play with 5 damage on it or whatever until the ability completely resolves. So a trigger will trigger off the card draw. So still in great shape, obviously. Untap with Bankbuster from hand to turn. Draw more cards. Should play Atali here. Now Pedro's tapped out, so I can jam my Atali. And again, this is the thing where I should too many things. So had to use the Atali on the Shieldred. Use the Urtai, I'm sorry. And then we fire up, you get Raffine, you get a Fable. Not the best, Atali of all time, but still pretty damn good. Why does Bank Buster copy have the counters? Just how the card works. It comes into play with 3 counters on it. So now I have a Raffine. At this point, I recognize I'm going to win. I need to like close this game out so we have time for game 3, obviously. So we got the Fable token, and I got to decide what I'm attacking with. You see, a lifelink blocker. Going to crew the Bank Buster if it's going to die anyway, and send in that one and the Goblin. Then I can convoke on, whatever on the Goblin. What's up, Power Dragon? Appreciate it. So use the Raffine trigger, pump it up, use some blocks. At this point, like, again, there's no real comeback mechanic in Pedro's deck. I think the only real fear for me would be like a third Shieldred, and just not be able to find an answer fast enough. But my hands go for the throat, kicks his command. I just got everything. So, embarrassing riches, Pedro agrees, and we're going on to game 3 here for all the marbles. What's up, Power Dragon? So, game 3. Power Dragon, are you coming to Orlando again? So, game 3, and I'm on 7, opponent's on 6. Opponent's mulligan a few times, that's how you 8-0. It's an easy game. And hands go for the throat, Harvester. No cut down on the draw, which is a little rough, but we see a Rona. Pass the turn. Draw another land. Not in it. So I fire up a go for the throat here. I have 2 copies of it, and I want to just kill. I want to kill the Rona before the snowball starts rolling or whatever. Don't want to. Hoping that Pedro's hand's kind of bad because he mulligans. So play Harvester on 3 and say go. We see a go for the throat. Kind of an aggressive go for the throat from Pedro, but I think that makes sense because like he's behind on cards on the play. He's got to close this game out. Fire up the Adelie and say go with the protection. Has Shieldred also, so has a pretty powerful draw here with Shieldred with protection also, but play land. And now I've got go for the throat. Trespasser gets to eat the Rona. You can block the token. It's important to have a blocker in play against Adelie. As long as you can keep blocking that token, and the Adelie won't grow, and kind of keep growing an army every turn. So, Trespasser go. See, Pedro's got Surge, and Shieldred draws the line for Shieldred. So here's Shieldred, which is scary, obviously. Under protection of the Skrelv. Here comes the Adelie, and here comes token. And I block the token and take 4. Which is a lot. Next turn, I think I didn't play. Alright, so I drop. And I draw, I believe, another copy of Go for the Throat. Which works out pretty well. Even though it's a bad exchange for me to go for the Shieldred twice. Play around the Might. Kind of thing that has to be done, I think. So, how old am I? Too old. So I decide if I want to do it now or my opponent's turn, because obviously if I wait, I can flip my Trespasser, but want to play around Surge Salvation. So we see double Go for the Throat here. That's it. I'm out of Go for the Throats. So definitely scary if it's another copy of Shoulder Waiting in the Wing. That is what it is. All right, so Shoulder's dead. Still have a good blocker for Adelie. Untap, we see Adelie and block. So Pedro's actually in chat right now and points out that he thinks he made a mistake by not using Skrelv on the token, which would allow the token to live and allow the board to start to build, like I said. I think that, like, knowing that I have no kill spells in my hand, that's it can feel a little hindsighty, but I think I might agree with that, honestly. So now the token would have gotten 3 for an extra point. There'll still be a token in play for next turn, which would have grown the Adelie also. That's fair. I think it's because I've already cashed all 3 Go for the Throats. I think that is definitely somewhat reasonable. That's reasonable. It also makes token for Invoked Spare too. So Spare isn't as bad either. So draw for turn. I have Atali and some lands. Draw Harvester. And play land, say go. So I'm 1 land from Atali, but at the same time, need to be cognizant of the fact that there are counter spells and Urtai, stuff like that in Pedro's deck. But now the board's decent. The Might can kill. The Harvester can kill the Might in a future turn. So I'm gonna fire up the Might here. Trying to close this out. Like, I think Pedro's playing aggressively, and I think that, like, what Pedro was saying with the last turn is, I think that play is very aggressive. But I think that given how Pedro has had to play this game and has been playing the game, it makes a lot of sense, right? It's sort of like, you know what? You don't have a kill spell right now. I need to try and kill you because your deck's just more powerful than mine on longer games. So I'm just going to jam. So jams in here at the Adeline. Hits for some damage and some poison. Has a backup Adeline and a Surge in play. Going to fire up the Harvester. Pedro's again going to let it die and not use the Surge. Holding the Surge for an Evoke Despair. And now I have this Graveyard Glutton hanging out. Resolve the Fable. Hand still a Tali. And then deciding if I want to attack or not. And I am going to attack. And I get to gain some life, which is pretty cool. And now Adeline's only a 1/4 at the moment. So, you know, it attacks for 2 next turn. I have blocker for the 1 token, which is pretty good. So, game looking pretty good here. Not sure what the question here is, but sure. So there you go. I also got some loots next turn, which is kind of nice. So 2 mana for a Rona, which is not very impactful on this board. Here comes token. Adeline in for 3. Puts me down to 8. And has Surge and another Adeline in hand. Ultimately also worked out very well. Not really by plan or anything. That I decided to try and race with the Glutton rather than try and block and trade the Adeline. Because Pedro had a second copy Adeline in hand, obviously. So my hand is Atali, and my hand is a mystery card. Checking out the back of Rona, which is flippable next turn. It's a 5/5 trample. And I think it's Slam Jam time for me, right? I think that we... just going to let it ride here. No? Just going to say go. All right, sure. So still playing our counter spells. Okay, so... Going to fire up a Ludo Rona. Hand is double Surge Salvation, Adeline, and Island. So a little flooded on Surges. Discards the Adeline, which makes sense. And then just going to fire up the flip here on the Rona. And now this is obviously great for me, because now I know that I'm safe to cast a Tali. From Pedro's side, the Surge covers Invoke Despair. It covers Chandra Minus, but does not cover Breach or Atali. And obviously, I know I have the Atali, so I get to fire up here, jam Atali, and that's all awesome. So we see Invasion of Yo Gabba Gabba for Pedro, and a Harvester for me. So not the most exciting, but fire up the Invasion, see double Surge, makes a lot of sense, honestly, given how the game's played out. And battle counter, blood counter. And now we're just in pretty good shape. We have a bunch of stuff in play. And then kind of most important is that I don't have anything big in my hand. So the ability on the flip Rona is that if it's dealt damage, it plays a card from my hand for free. And I have a land in my hand. So that's the only real threat here. I decided to play it super safe, just don't attack at all. I think, honestly, I feel like I could have attacked there. I guess the Surge makes it hard to attack. That's true, yeah, so sure. So we see a Takanuma Channel milling over just the Thalia. It's nothing. Could have looking for a big one there. Couldn't find it. And at this point, we're in pretty good shape. You know, we're about to have active Reflection plus Harvester. We have a 7/7 in play, and kind of a desperation attack here from Pedro. I think just hoping that the card in my hand is like Multiverse or Tali or some like really big spell, because I'm at 6. I don't want to die, obviously. It's a free block. Barring and be having a spell in my hand. Obviously, I have a land, so it works out well. Here's a Surge. Or I think Pedro decides not to Surge and save it. So, lets it die. Hopes for a big spell. I have a land, and that's it. So, there you go. 8-0. And we'll just stop the video here and not do any more matches, right? Is that cool with everyone? Good spot to stop. And, all right. I was under the impression that the day 2 of the Pro Tour never happened, personally. I won the Pro Tour, went 8-0, simple as that. But apparently people were telling me there was a day 2, so let's look at that. I went over my draft on the recap video, and then on the Bronze and Mythic channel, excuse me, where I go over the draft in depth. My deck was not great. Here it is. Definitely not a very good draft deck. Blue green, not a lot going on. I think that blue white Knights open. I just missed it. I think that I tunnel visioned on green a little too hard because of my first draft, and it's not ideal. You see what deck got here, obviously. Again, I went over the draft in more depth on the Bronze Smithy channel. Go check it out. But all in all, not a great draft deck. It's scrappy. Scrappy crappy, as we say in the business here. Obviously, I've got a few good rares here. I've got Invasion of Phyrexia and the Blue Invasion rare, and a couple Squadrons, a couple 2-drops. I think this is a deck where, like, I'd expect 1.5 wins. Just, like, curve out a few times, have a good rare a few times. But, this is the 8-0 draft table at the Pro Tour, not just, like, some random Bronze Mythic draft. So, kind of is what it is, Yeah, and the draft was definitely a little messy overall. We see Simon's deck, which I actually haven't seen Simon's deck. So we see Simon here has got Shieldred. Honestly, deck looks only okay. Has a Rager, Master of the View. Not a ton going on, honestly. It's Pylon, Shieldred. Deck looked better when we were playing, obviously. But there is Simon's deck. It is open pool, not open deck list for the draft. So you see your opponent's entire card pool, but not their exact deck configuration. Shit, am I freaking paused again? God, I'm just a fucking idiot. God damn it. edit this one too, I guess. So there we are, rock and roll. We got the whole match here too. All right, sure. So we got the whole match, backup feature, so no hands, and again playing limited here. This is the round 9 of the Pro Tour. Both on 7 cards. I kept this thinker here. I'm not gonna lie. This is the first match of the day, and I kept like 5 lands, 2 okay spells. I drew like 4 lands in a row. Just aptly punished. Probably should have mulligan, honestly. Let me see. That's a Captain Lannery Storm. So this is about the literal worst case scenario. You're keeping a slow hand. Your opponent goes 1-drop into really, really good 3-drop when your opponent has no board. Captain Lannery Storm is basically a Fable token with haste. So not too good here. Yeah. Just not so nice here. So Sack of Treasure, pumps the Lannery, gonna play the Beat Stick. A little synergy here with the Lannery plus Treasures. Puts the Beat Stick on the Lifelinker. So not looking too good here, honestly. I recall this game, Simon just sort of just being like, why aren't you doing anything? Tap 4 mana, play Freewheeler. So pretty insane draw, but, obviously I've been 3 spells. I've drawn 3 lands. Draw. I don't even know what I drew here, honestly. Again, no hands. This makes it hard, but my opening hand was very bad. I should have mulliganed. I think riding the high from day one a little bit in both the draft and play, honestly. I think Blue White Knights was open. I just missed it, honestly. So Temporal Cleansing the 3/3 for 4 mana, not very exciting. What's up, Simon? Appreciate it. We see a Red Resolve, which reveals the Edict and the thingy. And now the True Treasures here can cast the thing also. So, yeah, not great. Just getting absolutely shellacked. Physically, how am I feeling? I felt fine until Saturday after dinner. We went to a super nice steak place on Saturday night. Me, Reed, Seth, Ely, a few others. And got some pretty nice steaks. And I would say about the tail end of dinner, I started feeling a little bit of a tickle in my throat. Here's the Invasion, which is just like exile waiting to cast. So just an absolute, just shellacking here. I wasn't even in this game. Yeah, just like kept a bad hand, drew 4 lands in a row. Just like, had to flip it over for day 1 a little bit. So day 2, Simon's on 6, I'm on 7. Hand was fine, honestly, which is good. So ready to play a real game of Magic here, and we see turn 2 Omen Tracker, a card that I like a lot. Though in the credit card game, we didn't game it. It was expensive too. It would have been a pretty hefty game. We didn't game it. So line number 2, Omen Hawker, very good in my deck for all of the incubators. This is a backup feature, so there's no hand cam for this. So attack for 1, play a Surveyor, get my planes. So just kind of going here, doing my thing. We see a Gremlin from Simon Nielsen. First Gremlin 1/2, eat when it dies, incubate. So Much more tame start for Simon also. So this game's looking pretty good. Play Portent Tracker, and then no attacks. Just going to say go. Now I've got a bunch of mana for next turn, which is great. I have some big plays in my deck. Not really any way to get through just yet, but here we see a Vadric, which is the 3/2 whenever it's equipped or aura'd. You get a Spark Elemental that turn. We did see the Beat Stick in game 1. There it is. Look at that. So land number 5. I got effectively 6 mana in play with the Portent Tracker, and then 8 for abilities with the Omen Hawker. We're going to see look Invoke here on the, what's it called? The 3/4 flyer. Let's cast a flyer. Just say go. Leaving mana up for, I forget what instants were in my deck. I think I had the fight instant. So play a freewheeler. Each player mills 3. Milling over Forest, Land, Herbologist. They mill over some pretty good stuff. Untap and drop. This game's looking great. You know, we got a flyer in play. I'd say we're ahead on board. We're ahead on cards for Simon Mulligan as well. So in for 3 with the flyer. And tapping 4 for a Converter Beast, which makes the 5/5 Incubator, which I can use the, I have like the tracker land to flip it, or I have the Omen Hawker. It's not really a big advancement here, but you know, 5/5 will slide on this board, obviously. So great spot. You know, 5/5 on defense, a lot of creatures, got a flyer chipping away. So we see Simon's hand here. We see a Pile On, which is the 4 mana Convoke removal spell. And step flip the thingy. Got to use that Omen Hawker, make it look nice. Converter Beast is fun. It's not super exciting, but it's a fine card. And you see Pile On, Convoke, destroy creature, Planeswalker, Surveil 2. So here comes the flyer. Gonna take damage here, so no Pile On. And play land 6. And looking like a pass. Gonna pass turn. And so we see Unseal of Necropolis, which is going to be each player mills 3 and then raise dead. Mills over Shieldred. Not cool. Honestly, not even that bad. Because my board has a thing to sacrifice, but obviously the card's very, very good. Has Omen Hawker seen constructed play yet? We tried. Nassif was huge on trying that for the PT, and actually I like the card a lot, but it wasn't quite there. So ends up kill the flyer. So now got back the Shieldred and the Storm Rager, which are both 2 huge hits. So probably the best 2 possible creatures hit off of that. So like almost like double the Mana Tutor, which is kind of crappy. But we see a kill on the. Honestly, this is weird. I'm not sure why Simon chose to unseal then Pile On, because the Surveil could have helped put the Shieldred in the graveyard to return it. But sure. So untap. Even though I have things stacked for Shieldred, it's still obviously a very powerful card. I have 7 cards in my graveyard, so we see the Rager. And then Storm Rager is just so good. Stormclaw Rager, just an unbelievably good card. End step, cast my Mulak, get to draw a card, which is great. Hello everybody, it's Seth. Probably better known as Jim Davis's biggest fan. How's it go, folks? Going over my matches in the Pro Tour. I had 4 feature matches, and it's the last one, so welcome. Happy to have you. Shout out to Seth, obviously. That's great. So, down a game here against Simon. Past the Mulak. I missed what I revealed, unfortunately, because I was so rudely distracted by the raid. And the Mulak reveals. So, end step, cast the Mulak. Top 4 cards. I get to keep a permanent card. And if I find the invasion of New Phyrexia. So find the blue-white rare, which I can crank next turn for a bunch of tokens, which is pretty great. So the game's coming up a bit. Obviously, Simon has a shoulder in hand, has the Rager ready to go. Board's pretty good, but now I can make 5 or 6 2/2s. I have still the 5/5 in play. I can start working on the battle also. So crank the battle, make 5 2/2s. And then Simon is happy to give me the 2/2s. We'll find out why in a second. And then I use the Hawker for that also. And then no attacks. Just gonna say go. So Simon decides to cast. So I'm gonna flip the thingy and then cast a glistening deluge.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Black, black, 1. All creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. Creatures that are green and or white get an additional -2/-2 to end of turn. That's everything that I have. So wipes out my rare and all my creatures, and now the board is all of Simon's stuff, a shoulder in hand, and my literal nothing. So just an absolute massacre. Went from, being maybe slightly ahead to being almost unable to win, and the shouldered looms also, and I've got more than 8 cards in my graveyard, so you can flip shoulder and kill me that way. So, yeah, not a good spot to be in. I would say from this point, my deck has almost no comeback potential. Cast Seeds of Hope, hit a spell and a land, obviously, just not working. And yeah, there's nothing to do here, honestly. Has active Rager, active Shieldred, just active everything. And, yeah, kind of a massacre, honestly, for being totally honest here. So, got the bad hand in game 1, that was me, but this game was just an absolute massacre. So, definitely unfortunate that Simon had the good answer to my rare, but is what it is, So, play land, just pass the old turn ski, and sack that. We see Drinker, sack that. Yeah, the Stormclaw Raider is really, really good. We see it just churning through cards here, growing. Sack the thingy, just keep these cards coming, and yeah. Basically all over except for the crying at this point. And we see a beat stick, sure, whatever, put that there. Even gets the beat stick Vadric going, just literally just styling on me in every way possible. Like every possible synergy that Simon's could put together got put together here. And yeah, so thus ends the undefeated run at the Pro Tour. I'm now 8-1, and thus begins the defeated run. Where I would go on to lose many, many, many matches, and just ends unceremoniously. So from there on, I would 0-3 for draft, unfortunately. It's weird because I played against Carl Sarap in the next round, and we had a pretty interesting match. I'm mulliganed a lot, but it was still a pretty interesting games. And I thought it was on camera because Elliot Dragon had come to me at some point and pointed out a line that I missed. And I wasn't sure how he saw it, honestly, without it being on camera. But apparently it wasn't. So, and then I lost to Pedro in the third round of a draft where Pedro was 1-0-1 with a sick mono blue deck, and I was 0-2. But because of how pairings work, because I was 8-0 and Pedro was 7-1, I was 8-2, and he was 8-1-1. So in the tournament, our records were similar, but in the draft, he was undefeated at 1-0-1, and I was 0-2, just like how it works. And his mono blue deck crushed me, unfortunately. So and then on, it was rough. I did requalify again. I have a full. You can go on the YouTube to go check out my full recap of the tournament. It's on the YouTube now. I also did an article on it as well, so you can go back and watch that. So go check that one out. I go over the entire tournament. But yeah, that's the match review. So that's all the matches. If you missed them, obviously they'll be up on YouTube. I had my match against LSV, my match against Shota, and my match against Pedro, all on day 1, all unconstructed. And yeah, that's it. So YouTube folks, love you, like, comment, subscribe, appreciate it, and let me know your thoughts, and peace.